Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 Series Rescue the Rockies. And the 2036 season is about to get underway today, as we talked about when we looked at the projections for this upcoming season at the end of the last episode. Our Rockies still expected to be one of the top teams in baseball this season as we try to win an incredible fourth title in a row. We'll find out whether or not that can come true over the next several episodes. Turning our attention briefly to real-life baseball, we'll find out over the next few weeks whether the Dodgers will be repeat champions here in 2025 or whether there will be a different champion this year in Major League Baseball. Those of you who have followed the last couple of episodes in the comment section to the last couple episodes know that I've been following the Yankees-Red Sox series very closely. So I'm obviously pleased with the result last night with the Yankees beating the Red Sox 4-0 to take the 2 out of 3 wild card series behind an absolutely incredible performance from Cam Schlittler to move on to the divisional series against the Blue Jays. Two best teams in the American League will be facing off, at least in terms of the regular season wins this year. Schlittler's performance last night was obviously epic. 8 innings pitched, no runs allowed, no walks, and he struck out 12 batters. No player in postseason history had ever thrown 8 scoreless innings without walking a batter with 12 or more strikeouts, so he's certainly etched his name in the history of baseball with that one performance. The question now is whether he can perhaps go on a run through this postseason reminiscent of some of the great young pitcher postseason runs in my baseball history. I'm thinking about Fernando Valenzuela in 81, Mike Boddicker in 83, Brett Saberhagen with the Royals in 85. Think about what the likes of Livan Hernandez and Dontrell Willis did with the Marlins, even going to what Madison Bumgarner did in 2010 with the San Francisco Giants, some of the rookie or very young pitchers who had outstanding postseasons on their way to very special postseasons for their squads. And the next few weeks will tell us whether or not Cam Schlittler joins that very selective list. A little bit of perhaps revenge for the Yankees to get past the Red Sox in this series, dating back to the 2004 ALCS, beginning there and then following up with the 2018 ALDS and the 2021 wild card game. Yankees had lost 3 consecutive postseason series to their rivals from New England. The Yankees also were struggling this year against the Red Sox with a 4-9 record. Not that the victory in this wild card series will make up for the pain of that collapse from being 3-0 up on the Red Sox in 2004. But is a small measure of, I guess, revenge for the Yankees in this new wild card format. Teams that had won Game 1 of the wild card series were 15-0 in the previous 15 best-of-3 wild card series. The Yankees, of course, lost Game 1 to Garrett Crochet, and the Red Sox a few days ago did come back to win Games 2 and 3. So the first time ever that a team that won the first game of a wild card series in Major League Baseball didn't go on to win. Obviously doesn't fully redeem ourselves for 2004. That's obviously etched in history for eternity. But certainly glad to have the Yankees move on. I'm sure the Red Sox will be competitive again next year. They seem to have a lot of good young talent on the way. Their pitcher last night also did really well. The Yankees didn't hit a a lot of balls particularly hard last night. But when Cam Schlittler is dealing the way that he was, just about any team is going to struggle to score runs, and we'll see whether that's a one-game thing for Schlittler or he can keep it going. I mean, the scary thing, Cam Schlittler, if all goes well, could retire 15, 20 years from now and potentially have a Hall of Fame career, and it's very conceivable he could be a Hall of Fame pitcher without ever pitching as well as he did last night and having a game that was quite as good as that. So perfect timing for the Yankees to have the youngster out of Massachusetts come through for them in a big game against the Red Sox. And turning back to our fictional world here, you may remember that in our first off-season in this series back in 2025, we picked up Cam Schlittler as well as Austin Wells from the Yankees for Ryan McMahon. So looks like, although we did this several months ago at this point in real time, we did a good job projecting that McMahon would end up with the Yankees. Schlittler, unfortunately, in this world, did not do too much. Spent parts of 2 seasons in the majors with Colorado, 2-2 record with a 4.35 ERA over 62 innings pitched. So he's actually in real life in 2025 here with the Yankees, where he went 4-3 in his first foray into the major leagues. Already accomplished more in the real world than he did in this fictional world that we have been creating over the last several months. And speaking of this fictional world, Dustin Durbin was wondering exactly how much our former number 3 starter Dylan Jordan ended up going for this past offseason. He was requesting over $20 million a year for 4 years when the offseason began. There was no way we were going to bring him back at that price, and given the pitching staff that we already have and some of the young talent we have on the way, it was pretty unlikely that we were going to bring Jordan back at any price, given that his stamina makes it pretty difficult for him to be a starter at this point. He did end up signing a 2-year deal for just under $7.2 million total with the Blue Jays organization, so definitely not the big contract that Jordan was looking for when he hit the free agent market this past offseason. And taking a look at the schedule for the month of April here, a lot of divisional games. We start with 3 at home against Pittsburgh, and then next weekend we're on the road against the Los Angeles Angels. But other than that, we face every team in our division at least once, and we've got a total of 10 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks, 3 series with them, including 4 games at home at the beginning of next week. And our Rockies are off to a nice start here in 2036, 7-3 record over our first 10 games. We won 6 out of 7 at home against our National League rivals in Pittsburgh and Arizona before we did lose 2 out of 3 on the road to the Angels. The rest of this month at this point, as we talked about, is filled with divisional foes, so should have a pretty good sense of where we are in the standings after playing a bunch of games over the next 2+ weeks against the Dodgers, Giants, Padres, and Diamondbacks. Right now we've got half a game lead on the Dodgers and a little more breathing room between the Giants, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks, but clearly it is the very early going of the season. That said, Kevin Roberts Jr., who's looking for a 4th MVP award in 5 years, leading the league with 5 homers, and Leo Martinez, who's looking for a 3rd consecutive Cy Young Award, leading the league in the very early going with a 0.66 earned run average. And as we head towards the end of April, things going pretty well. We took 2 out of 3 against Arizona on the road, then won 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers after losing the first game back at home. Did drop 2 out of 3 at home against the Padres, but bounced back on the road in the Bay Area against the Giants, taking 2 out of 3 against them. 3 games left in this month on the road against the Diamondbacks as we play our 8th, 9th, and 10th games against the Diamondbacks here in this first month of the season. As we sit here on April 28th, still half a game up on the Dodgers in the standings. A little more breathing room at this point over the Diamondbacks, Padres, and Giants. Kevin Roberts Jr. still leading the league, 8 home runs, second in the league with 22 ribbies, tied for second with PCA with 8 stolen bases, leading the league in OPS. Nobody on our team is right at the top of the pitching leaderboards, but it is very early going, and would expect that Leo Martinez and Noah Schultz in particular are going to end up having pretty solid seasons on the mound when all is said and done. And we ended up winning 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks. Extra game or extra inning wins in both games 2 and 3 of the series to salvage the series win against our divisional rival. So a month of this 2036 season is in the books at 17-9. We now have a 2.5 game lead over the Dodgers, who have lost 3 in a row at this point. So feeling pretty good about how we are performing. Second best record in baseball, behind only the Braves out of the National League East. Take a very quick and perhaps even too early look at our team statistics. We have outperformed a bit as our 17-9 record, 3 games above Pythagorean expectations, 4-1 in extra inning games, 8-2 in 1-run games. Offense is ultimately tied for 3rd in the National League in runs scored, but you can see we're middle of the pack in several key offensive categories, and we are striking out a ton. Still a very good base running team this year, although the defense not quite as good as it was a year ago. 7th in defensive efficiency and 13th in zone rating here in the early going. Overall, we're 9th in the National League in runs allowed. Starters ERA, middle of the pack. The bullpen has been fantastic, probably part of the reason that we're outperforming expectations so much and doing so well in extra inning and 1-run games at this point. So certainly not a perfect start to the season, but at 17-9, we're not going to complain about it. One thing that we will complain about, and I noted this issue or potential issue in a comment to the last episode on what we might need, and I said that I thought catcher was perhaps the position where we lacked depth when we thought about what we had in the majors and what we had in AAA, and unfortunately our starting catcher Mike Girard going to miss a huge chunk of a 3rd consecutive season, done for the year, out for 12 months. The outstanding defensive catcher played most of the year for us in 2034 before he got hurt late and missed the playoffs, was rehabbing over the first half of last season before he came back and was extremely productive in the second half of the year and the playoffs for that matter. But his year for us over here as of April 29th, torn PCL for the fragile 25-year-old. He was hitting .242 with 1 homer and 66 at-bats. So going to end up being a lost season for Mr. Girard that will put us in a position where we definitely lose out as far as the depth is concerned. I don't hate Nate Harris as a starter. We picked him up in a trade with the Yankees the offseason before last, and obviously he spent a lot of time starting for us last season before Girard came back from his injury and held his own. This year he does have a couple of homers and 29 at-bats. Not quite as good defensively as Girard is, but we'll have to deal with that, and our backup catcher position is going to be much weaker now with Harris heading into the starting role. check in quickly on our prized rookie and what he's doing. You may remember we kept Phil Dingwell down unnecessarily, perhaps, for parts of last season in AAA to hopefully set him up to compete for a Rookie of the Year award this year, and also potentially a prospect promotion incentive. And in the early stages of this year, Dingwell hitting just .212 with a homer and 6 ribbies, so certainly not carrying over the extremely productive start he had to his major league career late last season. But we'll see, would certainly expect that with his ratings and more playing time, more and more comfort at the major league level, that he'll get better going forward. And to replace Gerard on the roster, we brought up Jimmy Crooks. He's a guy who was a minor league free agent signing of ours a little over a year ago. Spent last year in AAA Albuquerque with us, where he did not play much at all. Playing more there this year, hitting well. He's a guy who does have 8 years of major league service at this point. Fragile physically, but a decent defensive guy whose bat is not horrible. As far as an emergency backup catcher for the major leagues, think we could certainly do worse. Also does give us a left-handed bat off the bench, which isn't necessarily the worst thing to have. But Nate Harris is going to be our everyday catcher, and Crooks will be in the lineup only when Harris needs a day off. And as we look at our schedule for the upcoming month of May, going to get to know the rest of the National League pretty well. Fewer divisional games, but every game we have this month is against fellow senior circuit squads. Some key divisional series will be on the road for 3 at the Dodgers, home for 3 against the Padres. A couple more against the Diamondbacks. It seems like we often get all of our games against the Diamondbacks out of the way relatively early in the season. And then we'll finish off the month on the road at the San Diego Padres. And we'll save our full review for how the season is going until we do our mid-season review episode and really start planning for the trade deadline. But since we checked in on our big addition to the 26-man roster on the hitting side with the rookie Phil Dingwell, also figured we'd check in on our most important addition to the pitching staff this past offseason. Brought on Aaron Bell. The goal for him was to take over for Jordan and others in that number 3 starter spot in the lineup for us, or in the rotation for us, behind Martinez and Schultz. And Bell off to a pretty solid start in his career with the Rockies, a 2-0 record in 5 starts. Striking out just over a batter per inning, 3.58 ERA. He's been a little bit above replacement level. The big issue for him is that he has given up 6 home runs in just 27 2/3 innings pitched. Hopefully, as he gets more and more comfortable with pitching in Colorado, the home run rate will come down a bit. Given his low adaptability and unfortunately also his low work ethic. Might take him a little bit of time to get fully comfortable pitching for his new team. And our good play in Colorado's continued here in the month of May. We swept a 3-game series against the Phillies, took 2 out of 3 on the road against the Dodgers, and we've split the first 2 back at home against the Padres. So our lead in the division is 4.5 games. Kevin Roberts Jr. now second in the league in home runs and second in steals, as he looks like he's well on his way to another 30-30 season in terms of home runs and steals. He is at this point the only one of our position players who's right near the top of the leaderboards. Young reliever Chris Kennedy with 4 wins in the relatively early going of the season. Adonis Valer back from the injury that cost him the end of last season. 1.12 ERA and a league best 12 saves. And Leo Martinez, 1.6 pitcher WAR, 4-0 record with 2.58 ERA in the relatively early going of this 2036 season. Couple other housekeeping points. cliffhangers, if you will, from the last episode, I wanted to check in on Kevin Wayment, the young outfielder who had a really nice rookie year for us a year ago. Viewed him as more of a fourth outfielder this year with Dingwell on the roster. Ended up getting hurt in spring training. He is ready to begin a rehab assignment finally today. Would expect that we'll be making a roster move to bring him up to the majors in the not too distant future. And one guy you might be wondering about also is Luke Dickerson. We signed him to that minor league contract with a major league option back in February. We're more than 30 days into the season now, so he does have the option to opt out. But the fragile 30-year-old is hitting just a $190 for us in 126 at-bats in AAA. We have been playing him at third base there to try to get him a little more versatile if and when we do need him in the majors. Obviously, he can opt out at any time, but given that his performance has not been great, as I noted, hitting a $190 this year in AAA after hitting just $219 last year for the Nationals, don't think it's worth it to send somebody else down to bring him up at this point. And our Rockies continue to roll. Won the final game against the Padres to take that series, and now we just swept the Mets at home. 4 games left against Milwaukee, and then 2 against Arizona on this long homestand of almost 2 weeks. Have to assume that it's our longest homestand of the season. Kevin Wayment has had a few rehab games now, but when we look at our team, I don't know that there's an obvious spot for him. We had envisioned him as a fourth outfielder, but he's a left-handed hitter who's really not going to be in the lineup for us at all, since he won't crack the lineup against right-handed pitching for us. And Manuel Torres is the obvious guy for us to send down to make a spot for him, but he is a guy who is pretty productive against left-handed pitching as our DH, hitting .292 with 4 extra base hits and 8 ribbies and 24 at-bats, primarily against left-handed pitching. Given that Torres is doing such a good job for us, and we'd be taking him out of the lineup against lefties, and we'd be putting probably a lesser right-handed hitter like Cody Schreier into the lineup against left-handed pitching. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to me to bring up the lefty Wayment at this point, despite that really good rookie season he had for us a year ago. Definitely seems like he's a guy who could be a bit caught in a numbers game with the way our major league team looks. We have been shopping from time to time Ted Miller. Mentioned that in a last episode, or one of our last episodes, that he might not be with us for the long term, given that he's more expensive, and we do have pretty good talent, the likes of Wayment, Chris Roy, and our former first-round draft pick Mike Castro as outfielders in AAA, who are all more than capable of playing in the majors. Haven't found a deal for a starting pitcher that has made us willing to deal Miller. We'll also shop Wayment, although our expectation is certainly that he's got less value on the trade market than Miller does at this point, but always going to be looking for options to improve the team, even if it's not always something that we show in the course of these episodes, which we try to keep to a manageable length for our loyal viewers. And I've spent a lot of time offline looking at some potential trades involving the likes of Miller as well as Mr. Roy and Mr. Wayment. As expected, Mr. Roy has a lot less value. Interestingly, Wayment, given his age and productivity and the amount of money he makes, might even have a little more value on the trade market than Ted Miller. I do like Wayment because he's a lefty bat, and that's an area we're a little light right now. Miller is also a left-handed hitter, so moving on from either of those guys would definitely reduce our flexibility at the major league level in terms of established and capable left-handed hitters. I think I probably will, barring some big injuries, look to do a trade of one of those two guys over the not too distant future. The two most interesting pitchers we're thinking of bringing on board, I'll take a look at right now, and if the worldwide scouting department has some strong thoughts, would love to hear them. And one of the pitchers that we could potentially get is the starting pitcher Steve Satchwell. We could actually trade either Miller or Waymont straight up to bring Satchwell into the organization. Satchwell, a 25-year-old who's actually in AAA for the Pirates organization, which I can't say I necessarily understand. He had a 1.17 ERA with Pittsburgh in 2034 in a small sample size, 3.14 ERA for them a year ago. They are a team that has been in the playoffs in recent years, but still surprising that they can't use him. 5-1 with a 3.49 ERA in AAA. He's going to be 26 years old in just under 3 months. So although there is, in theory, some untapped potential here, I tend to think most of that is a mirage. He's also fragile physically, and his stamina is only 40, so he's kind of a 5-inning pitcher. That being said, we think his stuff and his movement are already major league quality with maybe a little bit of upside. He's got a potential 6-pitch arsenal. The control, the potential issue with him, again, at his age, I don't think, he's going to close half or most of that gap. Probably ends up being a 45 control guy, maybe 50 if we get incredibly lucky. So I think he's a guy who could certainly help us as a 4th or 5th starter, though. Is he an ace that we're going to be building around? I don't think so, but I do like that he's basically a ready-made 25-year-old for the rotation who's under team control for another 5 years. Extreme ground ball tendencies, throws pretty hard. But again, with the age, the untapped potential, he's unlikely to reach the fragility and the limited stamina. He is certainly not a perfect prospect. Also don't know if I like someone whose name is Steve, whose nickname is Luscious Luke. That just kind of creeps me out a little bit. The other starting pitcher that we've had our eye on, or we've actually had our eye on more than just these two guys since last off season, but the two that are realistic and reasonable targets, I think, right now. The second of them is David Cortez, who the White Sox are actually using as a closer. The price for Cortez is even higher, but either Waymont or Miller with some other players can get it done. You can see if we put Miller into the deal, there's a ton of options to get the deal across the finish line, so it's certainly something that we could do. Cortez, even older than Satchwell. So again, I think there's a fair amount of untapped potential that is likely to remain unrealized. He is also fragile already, which certainly is not optimal. Also a ground ball pitcher, throws in the mid to high 90s. He's got a potential 4-pitch arsenal, but the pitches are all pretty much major league quality at this point. Cortez certainly has better stamina than Satchwell, not that good at holding on runners. Mentioned that the White Sox using him in the bullpen right now. He's got a limited track record at the major league level over these last couple seasons. 4.24 ERA with a 7-7 record and 5 saves over 93 1/3 innings pitched. But certainly, again, looks like a guy who we could plug and play as a 4th or 5th starter towards the back end of the rotation behind Martinez, Schultz, and Bell. Guys like Painter and Barrera, presumably one of them would get demoted to make room if we picked up a guy like Cortez. So I think these are both interesting guys to consider bringing on board, but again, I'm really viewing them as fourth starters realistically. Admittedly, good fourth starters. I think it's certainly a luxury for a team like ours that has the opportunity to look at players like that as potential fourth starters. We still do have only 1 year left of Noah Schultz after this season, and he could opt out of that year this coming off season. So even though we like some of the young pitchers we have in the higher levels of the minors, are kind of thinking about, do we want to bring on some more talent to bolster the rotation in the near to medium term? Again, I like both Satchwell and Cortez, but do kind of view them as fourth or third starter types for us. Think that they're unlikely to reach that really untapped potential that we think they have. So unwilling to pull the trigger right now, but I can't imagine that the prices are going to change materially over the next several weeks. So still think that either of those guys is a player we could bring on board. And if the Worldwide Scouting Department has any thoughts on whether you think trading away the likes of Wayment or Miller for either of those guys makes sense, would love to hear it. In a perfect world, I'd like someone a little younger with a little more upside who could conceivably be a 2 for us and a good 2 for us behind Martinez going forward. But perhaps not surprisingly, the prices for pitchers like that are even more expensive than they are for the likes of Satchwell and Cortez at this point. And our Rockies just keep rolling along. We've now won 9 straight after sweeping 4 against Milwaukee. 9-1 record on this long homestand with just 2 left against the Diamondbacks before we head on the road for the rest of the month. Lead over the Dodgers at this point has already been extended to 9.5 games. Our 31-11 record as we sit here on May 19th. Definitely the best and pretty easily the best in all of baseball. The White Sox, who we've faced in 3 consecutive World Series, are the third best team in baseball, just half a game behind the Royals. But at 26-14, the Royals 4 games behind us in the standings for the best record in baseball. They're actually tied there for second with that record as the Braves. So I guess I misspoke a bit, and the White Sox are technically not even the 4th best team in baseball, but the 5th, because they're just behind the Angels in the standings as well. So basically, I'm just rambling and sharing a bunch of fake news with you with the way that I'm talking. And somewhat frustratingly, despite that 9-game winning streak and the 31-11 record to start the season, we have already lost a point of fan interest since this season started. So a winning percentage of close to .750, 3 consecutive World Series titles, 4 World Series titles in the last 5 years, and a decade of making the playoffs every year. Still not enough to keep top-notch fan interest for the fans in Colorado, unfortunately. And we ended up stretching our winning streak to 11 on that 11-1 homestand. We have split the first 4 games of our road trip, taken only 2 out of 4 in Cincinnati. Derby Mahez, our outstanding infielder, is also injured with diagnosis pending for the last day. So expecting that we'll find out in relatively short order how long we'll be missing him for. Hopefully it's not a significant injury. And we've lost 2 straight on the road to the Mets to push our losing streak to 3 games. We've lost more games, as many games in the last 3 days as we did in the first 24 days of the month of June, but still at 35-15, have a 700 winning percentage, still easily in first in the division. The bigger issue, still waiting to hear about Derby Mahez. It's taken a few days to diagnose this injury that he's dealing with, which generally is not a very favorable sign, unfortunately. And we got swept by the Mets to push our losing streak to 4. Fortunately, the news on Mahez wasn't as bad as we may have feared. Oblique strain's going to keep him out for 2 weeks, so obviously we'll be putting him onto the IL. The infielder hitting .284 this year, 7 homers and 31 ribbies in 155 at-bats. He was both an all-star and a silver slugger at third base a year ago, playing more second base this year thus far. Has put up a 120 WRC plus and a 1.4 WAR, so another nice solid season from the former first-round pick 6 years ago at this point out of UCLA. And although Kevin Waymont is one of the premier players that we have in AAA, and certainly the most proven at the major league level, given that he is an outfielder, and the injury to the infielder Derby Mahez really didn't open up any potential spots in the lineup for the likes of Waymont. We have decided to promote Luke Dickerson, who we signed to that minor league contract with the major league option for $2.8 million. Dickerson will take over for the next couple weeks as a utility infielder for us. With the injury to Mahez, the young infielder Trent Kaysen, who was starting only against left-handed pitching, will now be in the lineup every day. Kaysen hitting .270 this year with 3 homers and 14 ribbies in 63 at-bats. So it'll be good to see what the 24-year-old can do in the lineup every day. And Cody Schreier, who previously was a pure utility infielder for us, now will be in the lineup against left-handed pitching, and he'll take over a spot at the top of the lineup where Mahez previously was hitting for the next couple of weeks. And after that great first 3+ weeks of the month of June, we extended our losing streak to 5 games, losing an extra innings against San Diego before finally breaking that 5-game losing streak yesterday. So as we sit here on June 1st, just 1 game away from the mathematical 1/3 point of the way through the season, a 36-17 record for our Rockies, 9.5 games up on both the Diamondbacks and Dodgers, who are both right at 500. Kevin Roberts Jr. second in the league in homers, Ryan Stone second in the league in ribbies, and Anthony Pack Jr. and Kevin Roberts Jr. are second and third, respectively, in stolen bases. Pitching-wise, Leo Martinez now second in the league, or actually third, with 7 wins behind both Daniel Davison and Francisco Fernandez, who have 8. Adonis Valer continues to lead the league in saves, and Leo Martinez with a 7-1 record and 2.78 ERA, third in the National League with a 2.3 pitcher WAR here, 2 months into the season. Taking a look at our team statistics before we finish up, we're 2 games above Pythagorean expectations at this point. 17-9 in April, followed up by 19-8 in May, so been very good both months of the season. First in the National League in runs scored, and you can see we're in the top 3 in every offensive category except for strikeouts, which continue to be a problem for us. Good base running team. We've improved the defensive efficiency and zone rating over the past month, and we rank 5th in the National League in runs allowed at this time. So definitely playing stronger baseball statistically over the last month than we were during the first month of the season. And another guy who's doing better statistically is Phil Dingwell after that relatively slow start to the season for him. He was just named the National League Rookie of the Month for May, 260 with 7 doubles, a couple of triples, and 7 homers, 22 runs scored, and 24 ribbies. So Dingwell definitely producing better. He's now slightly above a average player in terms of his offensive production, above replacement level overall. The batting average of 236, not particularly impressive, but the power is starting to come with 12 doubles, 2 triples, and 8 homers as we sit here just about a third of the way through the season. Still needs more major league service time to become eligible for the prospect promotion incentive, but we anticipate that continued time at the major league level will get him to be eligible before the end of this season. And our other new addition, Aaron Bell, continues to do fine for us as a third starter, but certainly not exceptional. 6-2 record with a 4.35 ERA. The home runs remain an issue, having given up a sickly 14 in just 60 innings pitched. Overall, he's been about league average in terms of his ERA plus, certainly below average with his FIP minus and barely above replacement level. Again, still hoping he'll get more comfortable pitching in Colorado as the season moves along, but could take a while given his low adaptability. But when all is said and done, can't really complain about where we are. It stinks that we've lost Mike Gerard for the whole season, but as long as Harris stays healthy, we should be okay at catcher. Certainly have the opportunity over the next couple of months to look for some short-term help on the trade market at that position as well. The only other injury at this point at the major league level is Derby Mahez, and expect him back in the not too distant future. So things could certainly be better since we're not undefeated, but with a 9.5 game lead, the largest lead in all of baseball, and our lead is larger than all of the 5 other division leads combined. Certainly don't feel that there's any reason to complain about how this season is going for our Rockies thus far. Would love to hear your thoughts on how things are going in the comments to the episode. Obviously, if you have any thought on what we might do in terms of trading outfielders for starting pitchers, let me know. I think either of the guys that we talked about, whether it was Mr. Cortez or who was the other guy, Mr. Satchwell, would be an upgrade towards the back of our rotation. But again, giving up a guy like Waymont or Miller for a 4th or 5th starter, I just don't know if it's ultimately worth it. But the prices for guys who would be more impactful are just too high, so still not sure which direction to go there. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.